Express coordinate ideas in similar form. This principle, that of parallel construction, requires that expressions of similar content and function should be outwardly similar. The likeness of form enables the reader to recognize more readily the likeness of content and function. Familiar instances from the Bible are the Ten Commandments, the Beatitudes, and the petitions of the Lord's Prayer. The unskillful writer often violates this principle from a mistaken belief that he should constantly vary the form of his expressions. I love this because although I do say to vary form of your expression, you still want to remember that you want to, if it's obvious, and again, this is a lot of practice, but if it's obvious that you should structure things in an orderly fashion, like A through Z or 1 through 5 or 1 through 10, or, separate a list in semicolons or structurally the way you're writing something. I came, I saw, they came, they saw, they conquered, etc. You know, um, it's not about variety for variety's sake. It's about variety where it fits, where you're not being monotonous and dull and boring with regards to your sentence structure. Um, in fact, there's plenty of structure. There should be a lot of structure in your writing. So um, again, this is all practice. So when it says unskillful writer, a lot of it just means someone that doesn't even try to write that much or only writes for their assignment in their class as the minimum amount of work required. Um, and I know I'm being a little bit heavy, but that's really how someone gets good. I mean, there's like a lot of material out talking about you know um, doing this work or that work. I mean, you know, I'm a huge fan of 10,000 hours. I mean, I know it seems again hokey, but I mean 10,000 hours is just the number of hours it'll take to get really good at anything. 10,000 hours. So, there are no shortcuts, especially when you want to earn something. It's a long, hard, lonely road. And academics or writing, communication, programming, math, physics, fill in the blank. Parenting, um, sports, anything technical or anything that's DIY, even fixing cars. I mean, it's 10,000 hours. I mean, you'll learn some cool, nifty stuff probably pretty quickly, but to get really good, um, it's a lot of work. So don't worry about when it says unskillful writer. It just means someone that's not really pushing to become a better and better and better writer, which is reading a lot and writing a lot. So it is true that repeating a statement in order to emphasize it, you need to vary its form for illustration. Okay, so formally, science was taught by the textbook method, while now the laboratory method is employed. Formally, science was taught by the textbook method. Now it is taught by the laboratory method. So textbook method, taught by the textbook method, taught by the laboratory method. So it's structurally sound, but you're not being sort of repetitive. You're saying by the textbook method, by the laboratory method. The left-hand version gives expression that the writer is undecided or timid. He seems unable to choose one form of expression and hold to it. The right-hand version shows that the writer at least made his choice and abided by it. It's the structure, the parallelism of that structure makes the, it's saying we used to have apples, now we have oranges. It used to be the textbook method, and now it's the laboratory method. So really important to remember. The French, the Italian, Spanish, and the Portuguese. The French, the Italians, the Spanish, and the Portuguese. All the thes, the. By this principle, an article or preposition applying to all members of a series must either be used only before the first term or else be repeated before each term. So if you're going to say the French, the Italians, then you should say the Spanish and the Portuguese. In spring, summer, or in winter. Here you only need in spring, summer, or winter. Or you could say in spring, in summer, or in winter. I actually like this better. Hopefully you guys do as well. It just sounds cleaner. In spring, summer, or winter, comma, I love to go for walks around the park's perimeter, period. Um, correlative expressions, they're correlated, they're connected. Both and, not but, not only, but also, either or, first, second, third, etc., and the like, should be followed by the same grammatical construction that is virtually by the same part of speech. Many violations of this rule arise from faulty arrangement, others from the use of unlike constructions. It was both a long ceremony and very tedious. Yeah, that already sounds bad. The ceremony was both long and tedious. Very clean. Very clean. A time for words but a time not for words but action. Again, the negative that we don't like. A time not for words but for action. A time not for words but for action. Not for, but for action. You must grant his request or incur his ill will. You must either grant his request or incur his ill will. It seems small, but it definitely adds up to better writing if you go with the phrasing on the right. My objections are, first, the injustice of the measure. Second, that it is unconstitutional. My objections are, first, that the measure is unjust. Second, that it is unconstitutional. So right here, unjust, unconstitutional, right? Structurally, the measure is blank. That it is blank. The blank is blank. The measure is unjust. It is unconstitutional. It may be asked what if a writer needs to express verbalize or misread ideas. Say 20. Must he write 20 consecutive sentences of the same pattern? Good question. On closer examination, you probably will find that difficulty is imaginary. That is, 20 ideas can be classified into groups, and that he need to apply the principle only within each group. That's exactly right. 20 ideas, 20 sentences. Otherwise you'd best avoid difficulty in putting statements in the form of a table. That's exactly right. You want to think about the the venue, also how long something is. I don't remember the last time I had 20 items in a list, in an essay. It doesn't happen. It just doesn't come up. I mean, if you're gonna have 20 items, it's this is saying, hey, maybe you might want to put it in the form of a table, or maybe they'll be separated in different paragraphs, and then you'll decide how to structure those paragraphs in terms of how to break them up and how to structure the sentences, etc. So a lot of it is, it seems like there's a little bit of a cop out here at times when you read closely, but it's very clear, very concise, and Strunk gives really good guidance, but at the same time, it's really a matter of practice. It's a matter of what venue you're in, what type of writing, who your audience is, who's reading this, and then what you know what would be the proper choice, or a solid choice. Would a table be proper for an academic essay that's 2 pages or 5 pages or 8 pages? It might be more applicable for a 30-page thesis, like a master's thesis, for example, and it might be totally fine for that. It might be totally fine for an editorial article, where you're ranking, the top 20 movies, or you're talking about the top 20, the top 20 words that have been used, you know, uh, in a certain venue, or in top 20 misused words or misunderstood words, etc. I mean, it all depends on the venue and who is your reader, who's your audience. Thank you very much.